The birds were tired and, she imagined, cranky from hunting for tree limbs to settle on. Their feathers clapped in the stillness. People with hatchets and kitchen knives had hacked down most of the city's trees to burn them for heat and cooking fuel. The park across from the old Olympic Stadium, where Irena used to go with boys, now sprouted only grave markers scored with sharp, blunt letters. Slavica Yankovic, 1956 to 1992. Or Blonde Girl on Karlovatska and Proletariat Brigade Boulevard, 27-5. Those who had slashed the graves into the ground last spring never imagined they would have to specify the year, but already a new one was approaching. The planks offered no leaves or bugs to the birds, no shade or shelter to people. At dawn, the pigeons became like any other hungry citizen of Sarajevo. They settled in the exposed bones of bombed-out buildings, perching on bent and blackened iron rails. While Irena crouched soundlessly on a scarred concrete landing behind a smashed wall, she could hear the tinny blast of a loudspeaker begin to blare "The Night" from just across the line. He was the morning voice the Bosnian Serbs broadcast from Pale, the old mountain resort a dozen miles away where they had wheeled artillery pieces in among the ski jumps and hot tubs and declared a capital. Irena heard the first chords of the Clash song the Knight often used to begin his show after a night of pouring mortar fire. "London's burning," she could make out as the words battered her ears. "All across the town, all across the night." The Knight's voice crept in over the last lines as the band sang about wind howling through empty blocks and stone. "That was some night, wasn't it?" he said with a show of wonder. "Over in Novo Sarajevo, Rosno, and Bistrik. Sexy motherfucker fireworks," he declared in English. "It looked like the Terminator. I don't mean to be ungallant, but my lady and I actually got it on by the blasting lights. Each boom, another boom. I almost cannot keep up with those cannons. Boom, 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 boom. My lady said to me, 'Is that you, Knight, or the bombs making the earth rumble? Whatever it is, do it again. My ass is yours.'" The Knight seemed to chuckle at unseen companions nearby. 40 years of turgid state pronouncements had dulled citizens on all sides of the old Yugoslavia to the kind of dreary propaganda that broke into phony, breathless bulletins. "Truly astounding, comrades! A new record for cucumber production," between tuneless socialist anthems. Outlandishness had become a new state language, audible in the decrees of Milosevic and Karadzic, Serbian turbo-prop nationalist rock, and the Knight's morning monologues. "Are you preparing your breakfasts over there?" the Knight asked solicitously. "We are. I'm getting ready for toast, sausages, and coffee. Fresh eggs and milk. What do you get?" "Oh, yes, I've seen them. Those hard beans in plastic sacks from the United Nations. They look like bird turds. Do they taste like bird turds? We've seen you trying to claw each other for bags of those turds in the food lines. Do even birds do that? Besides, you have to soak these bird turds first, which I don't know how you do with all your water turned off. We've seen you guys standing in lines. You have to fill empty plastic detergent bottles with water and run home just to make a cup of coffee. I'll bet the Frenchies don't have to do that. Ask to take a look inside those cute little white tanks they have. I'll bet they have espresso makers inside." The Knight sounded disconcertingly tender, almost candied. Irena and other women she knew, including her mother, had tried to imagine what he might look like. "A sexy voice usually means an old mole," Mrs. Zaric had advised. "It's all they have." But Irena envisioned a round-shouldered man with curly black hair damp from the shower, a curly-lipped grin studded with a cigarette, and sleepy-lidded cobalt eyes behind curls of smoke, the blue-eyed bad boy who flattered with insolence. "And what," the Knight continued, "do you make out of that canned American Army meat the Yanks have left over from Vietnam? The Yanks send you food that Americans wouldn't give to their dogs. Look at those pictures in American magazines of Americans fluffing up juicy food into their dogs' bowls. Doesn't it look delicious? Wouldn't you just about die for a bowl of American dog food? The knight paused to share another indulgent chuckle. Americans love their dogs. Love them more than Muslims, Jews, and Gypsies. Pray to Mohammed that you come back in your next life as an American dog. Leap into their laps, lick their faces. That's the life. One of the first UN commanders to come to the city was Indian. He was aghast when he read the English translation of the knight's routines. The general had gained most of his soldierly experience in his country trying to quell riots that had been inflamed by flowery ethnic harangues. "Oh, the kid is just a comedian," said Radovan Karadzic, the Bosnian Serb leader with great Chrysler-like swells of silvering hair. "I know him a little. You would enjoy him. Perhaps we'll have a drink sometime, if that doesn't offend Krishna. The knight, Netsko is his real name, is a nervous little wisp. He wears thick black glasses to cover a nervous twitch. Kids like to shock, you know. I'm a psychiatrist. I have insight that other political leaders lack. Besides, Commander," and here Dr. Karadzic leaned in as if confiding something personal, "he doesn't mean your Muslims. He means ours. Turks. Yours have an ancient, noble history. Ours are descendants of turncoats who have professed their faith for only a few hundred years, then expect to be treated like the ancient Greeks. I'm the only man who should take offense at the knight. Each of his little monologues takes up time that could be used to read my poetry." The commander rather expected a smile to follow, but Karadzic's face stayed stony. The commander was replaced in Sarajevo within a few weeks. The knight continued his morning recital. "And what do you do with those slim tubes of condensed French army milk left over from Algeria?" he asked. "They look like toothpaste." "Oh, wait. Why would you need toothpaste when you have no food and no water? Civilized people use toothpaste. But all these Muslims swarming into town from the hills squat on the floor to go to the toilet. Hand them a tube of toothpaste and they'd probably just squirt it up their ass." The knight then took his voice down a notch until it was low and slow. "Well, Muslims, savor your crumbs. Our boys are coming over to party tonight. While you're in bed, unable to sleep, they'll sneak around those young boys and girls and all the old men who are your sentries. Do you think the Frenchies will stop us? They'll turn their blue helmets around and face the other way. The United Nations are united in being scared. Serbs are warriors, not faggots. We'll track down all the ragheads, Jew lovers, and gypsy whores. We'll shake them out of their beds and then take them from behind. Ooh, they like that. People who squat on their heels to shit must like it up the ass. Our boys will wring your necks like fragile birds. We'll pour your blood into a silver juice cup and drink it like plum wine. Tonight, we Serbs will eat roast duck, golden potatoes, and rich red beets." And here, underneath the knight's voice, she could hear Phil Collins beginning to sing. "She calls out to the man in the street. But we will leave room in our gullets," the knight went on over the music, drawing out each syllable almost dreamily. "We will leave room for your homes, your jewels, your televisions and cars, your wives and daughters." "Oh, think twice," he joined in imprecisely with Phil Collins's rasp. "It's just another day in paradise." Sometimes, Irena thought, you have to listen to an awful lot of crap just to get to the music. A pigeon flapped onto Irena's head, flexing its claws in the chain stitch of her black ski mask, 1, 2, 1, 2, like a disco step. The matchstick-thin pink toenails that she found so exquisitely petite and endearing cut sharply into her scalp, 1, 2, 1, 2. Irena cursed the sociability of pigeons as another flapped in. "Damn bird."